Hey y'all, welcome to the City Limitless Podcast, where we explore Mesa and beyond its city boundaries. I'm your host, Ashley, and this week we have Grey Daze on the podcast, who will be headlining the 7th annual Mesa Music Fest. And joining us from Grey Daze will be Sean Dowdell, the co-founder and drummer. Welcome, Sean. We're so excited to have you today. How's it going?
Going great. Thanks for having me on.
Well, like I let our listeners know, you guys are headlining the 7th annual Mesa Music Fest here, Grey Daze. Tell me about the start of this band and how this all came to be.
Well, originally we started back in 1991 was our first iteration of the band. And I was introduced to Chester through a mutual friend named Chris, who was kind of tinkering, playing with us at the time. And Chester came in and auditioned. He was 15. I think I was 17 or 18 at the time, 17, something like that, maybe 18 at the time. And he came in and he sang a Pearl Jam cover, and he was this scrawny little kid when he walked through the door. And I remember feeling, oh man, this is like a little kid. And, but then he opened his mouth and could sing. And even at that age, you could hear this just raw emotion and talent that he had. And we hit it off real fast. So he joined the band in our first iteration of the band and became Grey Daze in 92. And we put out our first record in 93, got a couple of record deals throughout the 90s, put out several records. Band went through some tumultuous stuff in the late 90s and then broke up in 98. Our attorney at the time, his name is Scott Harrington, had the foresight. He understood what a talent Chester was, and he was working with a band out of LA and said, I don't want to let this kid fall into nowhere. So he got Chester to come out to LA and play with this band called Hybrid Theory at the time. Those guys, of course, became Linkin Park. So the rest is history as far as that side of his journey goes. But Chester and I reconnected in 2002 or 2001 when our original guitar player Bobby got diagnosed with brain cancer, and we picked up where we left off, raised some money for Bobby, and then we went into business together in a company that I owned. I started in 1995 called Club Tattoo, which hopefully everyone in Arizona, or at least the greater Phoenix area, hopefully they know what that is. And we became business partners in the Mesa location off 16 Country Club in 2003. We went on to open 6 studios in Las Vegas, San Francisco, and Arizona. Did some really cool collaboration deals around the world, and then started playing some little side project bands, just he and I, throughout the 2000s. And then in 2017, we were on a phone call talking about doing another one of these big Club Tattoo anniversary parties, and he brought up putting Grey Daze back together, which I thought was kind of a surprise because we really hadn't talked about that in a long time, not since 2002 when we were going to do a reunion show for a benefit raiser, but he seemed pretty confident and wanting to put it back together. So, we made an announcement, started putting the band back together, started rehearsals while he was out on the One More Light tour, and started working with a producer because it kind of snowballed from that first idea into, well, let's go out and do a bunch of shows and go out on tour and start writing new music and go back and revisit some of these songs. So we started working with a producer named Sylvia Massey, and going back and forth with ideas through like a Dropbox link. And then 2 or 3 days before Chester was supposed to link up with us in Phoenix to start rehearsals for our reunion show in September of 2017, he took his own life. So unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to see everything through fruition. And I lost one of my best friends, and the world lost a real treasure when he decided to do that.
Yeah, definitely growing up in Mesa, Arizona, Linkin Park kid growing up, but it's so exciting to just chat with you about Grey Daze, another Arizona native, big in the music scene, but also, like you said, big in the tattoo scene. And to be honest, I'm familiar with Club Tattoo. I don't know who isn't, right? But let's take it back a little bit. So you're one of the co-founders of the band. What is your role in Grey Daze?
I'm the drummer. I was the original founder, along with Chester, and a guy named Jonathan and Jason Barnes were the original members. And then eventually Mace Byers came in and played bass. And then Kristen Davis was added to the band in 2017 when Chester was still alive. Once Chester passed, it took, many months, 6, 7 months before I just woke up one day and I just had this, I guess, thought. I was like, I'm going to finish this music. So I called the guys and I said, hey, let's finish the music that we were working on with Chester. Let's all finance it. Let's just finish it. And we had no illusions of getting a record deal or going out and playing. We just wanted to finish something we started, and the music didn't get a chance to live. So that's how it started on the path we're at now. And then several things happened along the way. As we started recording and doing these songs, the people around us in the studios were listening. They're like, oh my God, this is great. I can't believe this is Chester. This is what he sounded like. And started picking up a lot of attention from different record labels. And I had a friend named Renee Mata who said, hey, would you mind if we just had like one day where we brought 5 record labels in so they could hear what you're doing and just see what they have to say? And so I agreed. And we brought them in towards the middle of one of our tracking sessions and let them, I think, listen to 3 or 4 songs. And all 5 of the labels were like, we want this. How do we get this? So that was a tough thing to figure out. Like, how do we release music where we can't play live? We had no intention of playing live. Is the audience going to be receptive to it? I mean, there were so many things that were what ifs in our situation. But at that time, the band was just content getting the music out. So we really didn't care about the grandeur of anything. It was just letting Chester's fans hear him in a different or alternative band, but in an alternative sound as well. So that was the primary motivation. And then things kind of snowball from there. We kept getting big offers to play festivals and all these things. And I kept telling the band, no, I didn't want to do it. I just couldn't imagine being on stage without him. The whole idea of putting Grey Daze back together was his. He was the voice of the band, and I just felt like it was somehow a betrayal, or somehow it was disingenuous to the original intent of what we were trying to accomplish. And eventually, a couple years went by. We got another offer to play a big festival here locally that you probably know of, called U-Fest from on KUPD. And those guys have been very supportive and friends of ours for many years. And they asked again, they said, would you guys play, we do have a show with Godsmack and No Warning and some other bands. I forget off the top of my head. But I went back to the band. I said, if we did do this was like a year out or 10 months out. I said, if we did this, how would we do this? What does it look like? So we discussed it for days. And we had met Chris Hodges through the record label, had brought him in as one of the fan listeners to our first release, Amends, out in LA. And he was just one of the, I think, 12 people that were invited. And they flew me out there to meet with the fans. And as I was meeting, I just started talking to Chris, and he seemed like a really likable guy. And he was telling me he was a singer, and we just kind of kept in touch a little bit. He invited us out to see his band when he toured through Arizona, and Kristen, Mace, and I went to see him live, and we said, oh, this guy's pretty good. So I forget, maybe it was Kristen or Mace's idea to maybe call Chris and see if he was interested in playing this. It started out as one live show.
Okay.
That was the idea. So we called him. He said, yeah. He came out. He rehearsed with us for, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 times a month for about 5 months before that show. And then we played that show. And even though we had a lot of technical difficulties, it went really well. The fans were super receptive, and we liked how it felt on stage. And we started getting a lot more offers. And we said, well, let's play some shows that are fun, that feel good, because I'm an entrepreneur. Kristen's an entrepreneur. We can't quit our day jobs to try to go, chase being rock stars again.
Never say never, though.
It's not even important to me. You know what I mean? I've already done that.
Yeah.
And I've already had, not super fame, but I've already had notoriety in those things. And I chased that stuff when I was younger. When I'm older, it's more about legacy, and what I'm creating and what I'm doing is going to leave a lasting impact on the people around me. And how am I going to make a meaningful moment in my life that's going to help others and be helpful to others? So that's more where my brain's at, not about being a rock star and chasing that for all that entails. But it is fun to play live music. So, there's a dichotomy there for me where I enjoy being on stage, but it's for a different reason. It's not to stand around and sign autographs. But it's fun. And so once I started finding the fun playing live again, Kristen, Mace, and Chris, we kind of all sat down and said, okay, well, what do we want to do? What do we want to accomplish? What are our goals? And let's put together, a strategy that way. And then, so as we played over the last year with Chris, it felt really good. We started to write some new music just organically. We just got in a room and started writing new music. And these are probably all questions that you were going to ask me. And
No, you're good. You're good. I'll pick and choose after this.
Okay. So we wrote a couple of really solid songs. I said, let's go in and record them. So we went into Platinum Studios. We brought out a big producer named Brian Virtue, who we work with on the Phoenix album we put out, and loved working with him. He's done some huge Soundgarden, Audio Slave, 30 Seconds to Mars. I mean, he's just a legend, and he was amazing to work with. I sent him the tracks, our demos. I said, be honest, is this worth recording? And he called me. He said, Sean, this is really good. I did not know how you were going to write new music without Chester. Like, I didn't see a path forward for you guys. So I'm really impressed. And for him to tell me, he's the kind of guy that would say, Sean, this sucks.
Hey, and the honesty is good, right?
That would save me time, money, and energy.
Absolutely.
So I'm at the point where my ego doesn't need to be stroked. Like, dude, tell me how it is. Because if it sucks, then I don't want to waste any more time. And he was like, seriously, this is really good, Sean. You guys should put it out. So we brought him out and spent a few days with him here in Arizona. And we're just finishing up mixing those tracks now. And hopefully we'll release our first new music with Chris here in the next maybe 4 to 6 weeks.
Whoa, hearing it here first, I'm thinking 4 to 6 weeks. Yeah. We got some new music coming from Grey Daze. That's awesome. Congratulations. Now tell me, does music like run in your blood? Mom, dad, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, did anybody play music? Or were you the kid that picked up the drumsticks, beat on a drum, and you're like, hold on, I'm talented. I've got something to give the world.
Oh man, I don't know if it was that conscious of a thought. Does music run in my blood? I guess theoretically it would. My father was in a band in the high school and played guitar through my young life. My uncle was a drummer, played all the way up until the time he passed away a few months ago. So yeah, I have. And my uncle, another uncle, was a musician. So yeah, I have quite a few relatives that were musicians and had an impact on me growing up. But I think why I got into music was probably why most 17-year-old boys get into music, playing music. It's just a cool thing to do. It's a way to meet girls. It's a way to kind of validate where you're at in social structure. And then it's a way for you to get your emotions out onto something viable or something tangible rather. So I think that's why I got into music. And eventually it started to become an artistic theater for me. It didn't start out that way as 17. Any 17-year-old boy that tries to tell you that, I would be suspect of that approach. It takes a while to mature mentally into understanding that this is it's a unique art form that you can find expression through different ways of doing it. But that's really why I got into it.
Yeah. Well, so tell me, as I mentioned earlier, I did a little bit of research, and you guys have some other music that's out with Chester's kids, honoring his legacy. Can you talk a little bit more about that and how that all came about?
So the 2.5 albums that we put out with all of Chester's vocals on them, the way we approached them was we had all of his vocal tracks. We erased the music we just didn't use the music rather on those tracks and just put Chester's vocals up and literally started writing a new song around his vocals so that it could sound relevant. It could have a new feel, new attitude, and kind of capture the emotion that he was portraying through those vocals. So every song has Chester singing on it.
Wow.
Through that process, we just kind of came to this idea. We're like, Chester had his kids in the studio all the time, but he never got to record any music with them. This is something that we could actually give back to him if the kids want to come in and do it. So on the first album, we had his oldest son, Jamie, come in and sing on a song. He sang on a song called Soul Song, and that came out on our album Amends. And then on the next full-length album, The Phoenix, we had both his daughters, Lily and Lila, come in, and we wrote a little looping kind of nursery rhyme thing for them to sing over using their dad's lyrics. And then they get to sing with him in the chorus. And this is that was a really touching moment to have them in the studio and work with them. And for me, it's special because when they're 25, they're going to be able to look back and say, I have this song that I got to sing with my dad.
Yeah.
That to me is a legacy piece that's cool. and meaningful, and it is a way for us to give something back to somebody who was so special to us.
Wow, I love that. I think that is so amazing. Kids always think about what is my parents' legacy, and now his children get to live within that legacy and continue sharing that with you guys there at Grey Daze. Now, tell me a little bit about how you guys got involved with Rock Band, because one of your songs is on Rock Band 4, correct? That has to be so cool, because generations from now, if kids are still playing that, your music's still going to hit them in a different way that's not radio or downloadable or YouTube. You know what I mean?
That was a lady by the name of Wendy, who was handling all of our sync and licensing stuff. And she just called me one day and said, "Hey, I think I got something for you guys. Rock Band 4 is coming out." And this was like a year prior. "Would you be interested in putting your song on a video game?" I said, "Absolutely." That is, to me, that's a way that your music gets to live through other venues. And people get to discover your music in a way that organically that they wouldn't otherwise.
Yeah.
Especially as time goes on, because your music fades into the background. It gets dropped off playlists. It's harder to find you organically. Video games is a great way to do it. So it was a no-brainer for us. We were all very excited when we got that opportunity. And honestly, it wouldn't have happened without Wendy.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love the idea of it. Again, video games, the way the world is going, so much technology. Your music's going to live on in some capacity in that game, and it's so cool. Now let's fast forward. Grey Daze, as of right now, you guys have an upcoming tour in the UK. What are you guys planning on doing to prep for that?
Well, lots of rehearsals for one. It's more than just the UK, though. We start out in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, and then we go to Germany, and we end up doing a 5-day cruise in Germany and playing on the cruise ship. Then come back to Amsterdam, we fly to the UK, and we do the rest of the tour through the UK. So it kind of, we do, it's about almost 3 weeks.
Wow. Oh my gosh. All of that in 3 weeks?
Yeah.
That is going to be a lot of practice time to prep for that. So now let's move forward to this weekend, Mesa Music Fest. You guys are the headliners on Friday night. Tell me how you got involved in that. You're from Arizona. Have you heard of Mesa Music Fest? Is this something new on your horizons?
No, I've heard of it through being, owner of Club Tattoo. I get approached for sponsorships all the time through different events. And I had met Indian probably, maybe 6-7 years ago, when he first was getting it started, and I sponsored his events. I was introduced to him through a mutual friend, again, Renee Mata, who helped get us the record deal with Loma Vista Concord. He was a good friend of Chester's as well, and that's how he and I met. So he had introduced me to Indian, and then Indian reached out maybe 6-7 months ago and asked if we wanted to headline the Mesa Music Fest. And I said, yeah, at this point we will. He's asked us a couple times. We didn't have a way to really do it, but now that we're playing live, it feels good. And it's a free show, which is really cool. So I'm hoping that it's packed, and we'll have lots of cool stuff, get some stuff to give away, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I really admire what he's kind of put together. I mean, it's not easy to bootstrap a festival.
No.
And he's really worked hard at getting not only solid talent out there, but just the way he puts everything together with the tents and the vendors and all that stuff. It's not easy. I've thrown a lot of events, and kudos to him to seeing it through. And I think he's in his 7th or 8th year now. So
yep.
I'm big supporter of what he's trying to do. I love seeing this kind of stuff in the community.
Well, we are so excited. Being from Mesa, Arizona, I love a good community event. We love a good free event. Bring people out of all walks of life. You get new people that are going to discover your music for the first time. And you guys are playing at the Nile Theatre, correct? This theater is coming up on, I think, 100 years old. Like, how iconic is that? At least for me, I feel like I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like a monumental moment.
Yeah, well,
I'm sure you've had bigger monumental moments, but
no, I think it's very special. I love things that have long-term legacy in the community. Hopefully, my brand will be that as well. I'm coming up on 30 years, and I remember playing the Nile in 1997.
Wow! So this is not a first time; it's a reunion.
Well, yeah, we played the Nile a few times back in our original iteration of the band. So
wow.
It'll be interesting to get back up there.
I love that. Now, you've mentioned throughout our conversation, and I want to touch on it because we are a destination marketing organization. And believe it or not, tattoo travel tourism is a thing. You are the CEO of Club Tattoo. I mean, I'm sure you could say the obvious reasons of how this all came about, but how did you end up in that direction?
To be honest, it was really weird. It was 1994, and I was touring with Grey Daze at the time, and the band was drawing well, but every time we would tour, we'd basically come home and whatever money we had made had to go back into the band. So we would come home as individuals broke. And we came up with the idea, me and Mace at the time, well, we had been throwing these tattoo nights, and at the time there were only 6 tattoo studios in the entire state of Arizona.
Really?
1994. Yeah.
Well, you learn something new every day. Wow.
And yeah, it was not this mega
tattoo
trend
hub. Yeah.
Now. And I mean, it was really underground. It was really a way to be antisocial in some aspects as far as the way you were expressing yourself visually. But I saw a little bit of more of a future in it than that. And we decided to open up a tattoo shop so that we could help supplement our income while we were on tour. And then as we opened up the company, Mace was my partner for only 6 months, and I had to buy him out.
Okay.
And then I ran it solo, and I loved being an entrepreneur and learned how to become a business owner, and learning the business operations and metrics and finances, and learning how to become a good leader and a good mentor. All these things I liked. And as I kind of stepped away from the music industry in 2001, I really put my energies back into the entrepreneurial world with Club Tattoo and grew it to, hopefully what a lot of people see as a very successful and recognizable brand.
Yeah. So I have to ask, what is your favorite tattoo or your favorite piece that you have on yourself?
Well, right now it is this hand tattoo.
Okay.
And this is the phoenix in Chinese, and it was a way for me to honor Chester without putting Chester's name or his face on my body, because that's not me. But just a way to have these backshaded flames with the phoenix, and the phoenix is a representation of Chester. Yeah. So that's why we named the album The Phoenix, and that's my favorite tattoo as of right now. But it'll change.
It'll change.
Just very.
So tell me, what does the future of Grey Daze look like? You guys are making some moves. You never know. Rockstar lifestyle could be in the books. I don't think we totally want to shut that down, but what does the future of Grey Daze look like?
We'll be playing festivals and doing some international tours for sure over the next couple of years, and we'll see. The idea of trying to put everybody in a van and hit small clubs throughout the Midwest is like, that doesn't appeal to me at all. And maybe that sounds obnoxious or
you've come from experience. You've kind of done it before, right?
Yeah, exactly. I just don't want that in my life right now. But we'll play festivals. We'll play some larger stuff. Like what we're doing with this Mesa Music Fest is fun. There'll be a nice crowd there. And, that is what I think is in the future, Grace. And then we're going to release some new music, and we're going to see what happens. We'll just kind of take it one step at a time.
Awesome. Well, let's end on a high note, because we do have a lot of new artists coming to Arizona, coming to Mesa, performing at Mesa Music Fest this weekend. What is some advice that you could give to these up-and-comers?
The biggest piece of advice I can give to any musician is don't play it for any other reason than if it's fun. If it's not fun, don't do it. If you're in a band, you're having fun, you're achieving the goal. The goal is not to get signed. I've had 7 record deals. It's a very empty void at the end of the signing the contract.
Yeah.
If you're having fun writing and playing, that's what it's all about. And just concentrate on that. Everything else is a sidebar.
Yeah. I love it. I couldn't agree more. Well, Sean, I'm not going to take up too much more of your time. I so appreciate you coming on today. We are so looking forward to having you guys this weekend at Mesa Music Fest. Again, everybody come check them out. They're playing at the Nile Friday night, and hopefully we'll check in with you guys soon, okay?
All right. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Sean. Have a good one. Bye. That's a wrap, guys. Thanks for tuning in this week. Check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else that you get podcasts. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
That's what I feel, free.